Okay, my loves, I have a little reframe for you today.
Mhm.
What if you are not actually procrastinating? What if you are just processing? We're going to get into all of this today in this video about how sometimes we think we're procrastinating because we haven't figured out the thing yet. And we're doing things like taking time for ourselves or not thinking about the things. But as an overthinker and recovering people pleaser and thinking that I have needed to be on a timeline, and if I have a problem, I have to figure it out right now. I know that sometimes when I just go to do the dishes or clean the kitchen, I think like, man, I'm really procrastinating on figuring this out. Well, I'm here to tell you that maybe your brain needs a break. Maybe your brain needs a break. And so we're going to get into all of this today. But I just want to start with hi, hello. My name is Mackenzie, and I help people trust themselves through uncertain situations, especially my overthinkers and my recovering people pleasers like me. And help them trust themselves through uncertain situations and not abandon themselves halfway through the process. Um, I know that I have done that before also, but welcome. Thank you for being here today. And do all the things like subscribe, comment below. It helps, all of it helps um, bring this to more people. And again, thank you for being here. Okay, so let's get into it. I think there's a few layers to all of this, if I'm being honest, but I think, or what I have seen from the people that I work with, is that sometimes we feel like I have a problem and I have to fix it. And if I am not spending every waking moment thinking about how to fix this problem, then I am procrastinating. Not true. Not true at all. And actually, and I think that sometimes we get stuck in that overthinking brain where we're just like, I'm nervous about this. I'm stressed about this. I don't know what to do about this. And so I'm going to think about it and 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 think about it until I am just absolutely exhausted. I've run my entire battery out, but somehow I'm so tired and I still can't sleep at night because I'm still thinking about it. Does this sound like you? I have done the same thing lots of times and still do sometimes, but let's talk about procrastination in that form when we're like when we're getting to the point where we're just like overthinking everything and can't stop thinking about it. What do we actually what actually happens when we just like put it to the side for a minute, right? Oftentimes what I've heard people tell me is like, "Oh, I'm procrastinating. I should be thinking about it." Right? And I actually think that oftentimes your brain just needs a break. Your brain needs to stop thinking about it because what I think is actually happening when you're overthinking is you're in a stress response. You are, um, because I have, you are in a stress response in that moment. You're like, if I don't figure this out right now, then how is it ever going to get figured out? Right. And when you're in that stress response, you're not going to be able to like think creatively or think in a way that's actually going to figure out that problem. And so overthinking just tends to be the thing that some brains go towards, right? Where I'm just going to overthink my way through it. And I think there's a few things that happen here, right? I think at some point your brain just wants to shut off. So you procrastinate. I don't think you're actually procrastinating though. I think what's happening is that your brain's like, please stop thinking about this for a minute so I can process. So I can process what's happening. Because what is the percentage? I'm not going to get this exactly right, but something like we only really use like 5% or 10% of our brain is like the conscious, like is like conscious thought. If you know the actual percentage, like put that in the comments for us. But it's a very low number, right? And the rest of what's going on is our subconscious brain, right? But if your conscious brain is taking up all this room with your overthinking, then your subconscious never gets any time to process any of this, right? Which is why you might feel like you're really exhausted, but then can't sleep at night. That's what happens to me, at least. I know that to be true. So, and I had a friend say this the other day where she was like, I'm trying to figure it out, but I do the dishes and I distract myself and I procrastinate. And I was just like, I think that's actually part of the process. What if your brain's just like, please stop for a minute? Let me process this. Because if your subconscious is like 95%, 90 to 95% of like what's actually happening in your brain, then your conscious brain doesn't need to be on all the time, right? We need some time for quiet. We need some time that we're not distracted. And I know that's really hard right now because we've got so much content to consume, right? We've got so much to that keeps our attention. I know that I do all day too. And you're watching some right now. So maybe take this as your note that after this video, you're going to shut YouTube and just take some time to not have anything happening and spinning or playing in the background. Um, but what I think is happening is that we need time when we're not consumed by media, when we're not distracted by something, when we can just be, when we're not listening to a podcast or an audiobook or all these things, right? Our brain can just rest. Sometimes that looks like doing a crafting project. Sometimes that means taking a bubble bath and not thinking about the thing that you're trying to figure out. And sometimes that means cleaning your kitchen, taking some time for outside and listening to some birds, going for a walk and not listening to anything. What can you do that invites your brain to just like slow down a little bit? And honestly, you don't have to do this for a long amount of time. Um, you can just, it can be like, start with like 5 minutes. 5 minutes is going to go a lot faster than you think. I promise you, because I always think of 5 minutes. And I'm like, wow, that's going to be so long. It's not that long. It's not that long. Um, but um, what I think I think part of why we think that we're procrastinating is because we have these systems in place also, especially if you live somewhere like the US where it's like, be productive, figure it out, go forward, right? Um, Capitalism doesn't want us to stop. It doesn't want us to slow down, right? And so, and when we're stressed, when we're in that stress response state, sometimes we resort to things like overthinking. And I'm just going to take your hand while I say this. And the overthinking is a way to make us feel like we're solving the problem when we're not taking action steps forward. Yeah, that was a tough realization for me. I think it helps us to think that we're doing something around this issue, around this thing that we're trying to solve. And we're not. We are, um, we're actually procrastinating in the overthinking. Like it's so wild, right? But the overthinking is you having a stress response. I know because I've lived it. So you are not alone, and nor do I want you to feel like this is a you problem only. You are not alone. I have done the same thing, and that's the only reason I can talk about it, right? And I'm working through it every single day. It's a practice, right? Because when we have things that we have done for a very long time that have helped or served us in some way, right? Because this has served you in whatever way, we um they're tough to change, but with neuroplasticity, because we have the ability to create new pathways in our brain, it's possible. And you have to believe that it's possible also, right? This is not a woo thing to believe that this is possible. It's a literal science, literal science. You can create new pathways in your brain, and they take a little bit to create. And that's okay, right? This is why all of what I talk about is a practice. It's all a practice, babe. It's all a practice. So, when you are in that overthinking state, notice it. Remember, we've talked about the art of noticing? If you don't know, head back to the art of noticing video and check that out. When you notice that you are overthinking, when you notice that you're spiraling about a thought or trying to fix something, maybe that's a moment to help your nervous system regulate. Maybe that's a moment that you take a big, full, deep breath and just feel what is happening in your body. Do a little body scan practice where you just scan down your body from your head all the way to your toes, taking some deep breaths. You can shift your stress state in 2 minutes. And just with some full deep breaths all the way down into your belly and filling up your lungs as much as feels good, right? And inviting yourself to be present with what you're feeling in your body. You can shift that 2 minutes. That's all it takes. And I will post a body scan practice as well coming up. But notice when you're overthinking, and I want you to take that noticing with curiosity and non judgment, as we talk about. And as you notice that you're overthinking, take some full deep breaths. that's your practice, right? That's your practice. And when you are doing something that is not trying to fix the problem, I don't think that, remember that that's not procrastination. That is you processing. You don't have to be thinking about the thing all the time in order for something to happen. Maybe you need to start acting so that you get some information instead of overthinking and trying to figure it out. Because you're not going to get more information in your head, especially when you're in a stress response. And this is why, like, we get ideas when we're in the shower, you know, because, and, you know, maybe you're listening to music in the shower, maybe you're listening to a podcast. Maybe try taking a shower without doing those things, right? And notice what comes up, right? And taking some deep breaths while you're in the shower and just like trying, just inviting your body to relax a little bit. And you might solve it there, right? But you're not going to get more information about this in your head. You have as much information as you have in your head already, right? Taking action is going to give you clarity and more information. And we're going to talk about in the next video that what it's like to take action imperfectly and what that means about you. It doesn't mean what you think. Anyway, that's what we have today. I I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Do all the things. I'll see you in the next video. And let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know kind of what you're feeling, what you want me to expand upon, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay. Love you. Bye.